Welcome to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, the show where brilliant professionals share how to sharpen the universal skills required to flourish at work. Enjoy more career fun, wins, meaning, and money with your host, Pete Makaitis.
Hello and welcome to episode 872 with Dr. Stephen Hayes. Steve has written one of my all-time favorite books I've discovered this year, and it's all about psychological flexibility, how to run your mind in a way that provides more joy and peace and goodness and awesomeness at your job and so much more. So you'll learn 1, the benefits of psychological flexibility and how to develop it. 2, why you need to put your mind on a leash. And 3, the trick to taking the sting out of negative words. So if you want to check out the show notes or the transcript or the links to items we've mentioned, please visit us over at awesomeatyourjob.com/EP872. Now here's a bit about Steve. Stephen C. Hayes is a professor of psychology at the University of Nevada, Reno. He's the originator of acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, if you will. He's authored 48 books, including Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life, which reached number 20 on Amazon's bestseller list, and A Liberated Mind, which explains why psychological flexibility helps us navigate the world. Methods he has developed are distributed worldwide by the World Health Organization and other major agencies, and he's among the most cited psychologists alive today. Big thanks to Steve for sharing his wisdom with us, and big thanks to our sponsors. Check them out. And big thanks to our sponsor, Acorns. Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing for your future. You don't need a lot of money or expertise to invest with Acorns. In fact, you can get started with just your spare change. Acorns recommends an expert-built portfolio that fits you and your money goals, then automatically invests your money for you. NerdWallet.com, whom I love on these sorts of matters, gives Acorns a whopping 4.7 stars and says, quote, if you want to make the most of your spare change, there's no better place to do that than Acorns. Head to acorns.com/awesome or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. And we got a legal disclaimer here. It may not be representative of all clients. Tier 1 compensation provided. Compensation provides an incentive to positively promote Acorns. View important disclosures at acorns.com/awesome. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Please consider your objectives, risk tolerance, and Acorns' fees before investing. Acorns Advisors LLC, Acorns, is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Brokerage services are provided to clients of Acorns by Acorns Securities LLC, member at FINRA/SIPC. For more information, visit acorns.com. One sponsor to check out is Harvard Business Review. This brilliant magazine, published at hbr.org, is the leading destination for smart management thinking. Fun fact, HBR has been mentioned in 108 episodes of the show. That's because HBR has great stuff that comes up often. They've got explainer videos, podcasts, real-world case studies, and much more. I think of HBR each night that I put on my special orange glasses. Their article, Will Blue Light Glasses Improve Your Sleep?, revealed that those who wore them reported better sleep and a 7% improvement in work performance as compared to those who wore the sham glasses. So I cite HBR anytime anyone tells me that I look silly wearing them. Now, much of HBR's content is available for free when you sign up at their site. Subscriptions that get you unlimited content cost $10 a month. If you visit hbr.org/subscriptions and enter the promo code AWESOME, you can save 10% off of that subscription. Again, to save 10% off of your HBR subscription, go to www.hbr.org/subscriptions and enter the promo code AWESOME. One sponsor to check out is Storyworth. Whenever I'm thinking about meaningful Father's Day gifts, Storyworth leaps to mind. Storyworth helps you preserve precious memories and stories from your father for years to come. Each week, Storyworth emails your loved ones a thought-provoking question that you get to help pick, such as, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? I personally love the prompt so much that I have refreshed Storyworth's questions page many times looking for more. Storyworth makes the writing process super quick and easy. All your loved one needs to do is respond to that email with a story, and then you get a quick copy of that. And after a year of this fun, Storyworth compiles your loved one's stories and photos into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book that you'll be able to share and revisit for generations to come. Families love Storyworth so much, they've got 25,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot and have millions of stories preserved. So give all the fathers in your life a unique, heartfelt gift they'll all cherish for years. Storyworth. Right now, you can save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/awesome. That's storyworth.com/awesome to save $10 on your first purchase. Now, here's Steve. Steve, welcome to How to Be Awesome at Your Job.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy to be here with you too. I've been enjoying your book and your interviews. And I think we have more that we could possibly cover in the time available, which is a great problem to have. So I think, first of all, we got to hear about your extraordinary push-up practice. What's the scoop here?
Well, it's going backwards fast. And I have long tried to do at least my age in push-ups every day. Unfortunately, my son, who's getting awesome at it, said, "Dad, you're doing cheater push-ups." So now I'm doing the perfect, absolutely to the floor, nose on the push-ups. And suddenly I'm only at about 25% of what I was before, but I'm still committed. I'm going to get back to my age, which will probably take me a little while, but every day.
Well, I was listening to your book, A Liberated Mind, How to Pivot Toward What Matters. And I heard you say, yes, I do 70 push-ups a day. So that's what 70 cheaters?
Yeah, turns out I don't actually get all the way down to nose kissing. And so I've bought the kind of things that lift you up so that you can safely hit a pad, because I don't want to smash my face into the carpet when I get tired. But it's one of those things where an arbitrary thing, it's not going to make push-ups, but it's just a symbol of, can you make a commitment, just stick to it and just create a habit that's values-based, worthwhile. And when you fail, you keep coming back into it. And the move to the perfect part is keep up in the ante. It's not just the number that counts. It's trying to do it in a quality way.
And recently, it seems like you've had some very rich moments in terms of, you shared with me your Mother's Day exchange, as well as some exchanges leading up to your retirement from the University of Nevada, Reno. Could you tell us a bit about these?
Well, the retirement thing kind of links over. I've been at this for 47 years, and I got up in front of the student group and spontaneously was, say, give a few words. Of course, you don't give a microphone to a full professor. You deserve what you get, so you got a 20-minute rant. But what I found myself saying to my students as my last word, my last meeting, was that love and loss is one thing, not two. And that, when you really love your job, as I have, the way to do that full out is to know that it's finite and will pass, and to have that be part of it. That's why we cry at weddings, why we cry at births, is that we know there's things ahead. There's a bittersweet quality to life. But if you inhale that at the beginning, then you can play all out, because in the end, you're going to be waving goodbye, and people eventually will forget you. But so what? If you move the ball down the road, it'll be there, maybe, for in some tiny way for your children's children. And that's worth playing hard. So I think we often think of winning as some sort of permanent thing and losing as a horrible thing, et cetera. But, I think it's kind of a mixed thing. And the love and loss part is that knowing from the beginning that you're raising your children for them to leave you. You're, loving the people around you, knowing that they're going to die. You're creating a business knowing that it'll be passed on to somebody else. You're not going to have it forever. So that's okay. That's called life. And it's, to me, an empowering message. It means we can play full out, just like we were when we were 3 and we ran to touch that tree and gave it every little ounce of effort without asking the question of, is this really important? Will it last forever? Wrong question.
Yeah. Well, and I loved in your reflections there, you mentioned that all these things are loving. In the universe of professoring and publishing, you said that is also love, publishing an article. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I reminded students, that when you do a job like that and do it well, you will love your job if you do your job lovingly. That will go together. And I guess unless you're a professional hit person, all of our jobs are about somehow contributing to the well-being of others. And so could you bring that into your life's moments? And so that when it's 2 a.m. and you're working on the stupid reviewers that ask you to do stupid things with your article, or it's not going to be published, can you really connect with doing even that with care? Is like an awesome opportunity to bring the capacity to bring love in the world into your world and to the world of others by doing a really, really good job, the absolute best job you can do without paralyzing in place. That has to be perfect or you can't do it. Now, as I say, the love and loss is one thing, tells us that failure is part of it. Slipping and falling is part of it. When you learn to walk, how many times you fell down in an average day? 110 times. 110 times on your diapered butt. And unless you had some sort of injury or something, you eventually learn to balance and walk. So could you approach your work with that kind of quality of doing it in a way that's focused on the good that you do for others, but not in this perfectionistic, self-critical, heavy, oh my God, what if I fail? That paralyzes us.
Well, I love that so much because it's connected to psychology and insights that are, research-based and somewhat modern, and yet also ancient in terms of wisdom traditions. And I'm thinking in my own background of Catholic Christian, thinking about Mother Teresa, do small things with great love. And there's just a whole lot of goodness to be pursued in that way. So,
yeah, I was raised in that same religious tradition, and I know all those rituals and stories, and all of our wisdom tradition and religious traditions, all of them at their best, include these really wise advice. But the human mind needs guidance. I mean, very, very easily you can turn it into a slog or some sort of narcissistic grand thing, and you forget that it's the small things that are going to matter, and being part of something bigger than yourself is part of what makes life worth living.
That's powerful. Well, so you are known for the notion of psychological flexibility and acceptance and commitment therapy. And it's funny, in this context, you've said in the book that you are not God's gift to psychological flexibility, in that's something, it's an ongoing journey. And yet, in a way, your contributions have indeed been a gift to all of us. So I want to unpack some of them for us. First of all, what is psychological flexibility, and how can that help people in general, and for this show, help us be more awesome at our jobs?
Well, it's the smallest set of things that we do, processes we call them, just from the word meaning a parade or procession, a sequence of things you do that leads to an outcome. The smallest set of things we do that do the most good things in the most areas known to behavioral science. And it's very, very simple. It's a matter of being more open, aware, and actively engaged in life. If you're going to be more open, you have to be open to the world inside and out. That means your emotions, your thoughts, your memories, your sensations. Well, what does it mean to be open? It means to be able to feel them, to go deeper into them when it's useful, and respectfully decline the invitation to spend a lot of time on them when it's not useful. Being able to sort of see them as part of the journey. What does it mean to be aware? It means to be here, consciously present, right here, inside and out. And here's what's going on. And I'm noticing it. I'm consciously noticing it. I'm noticing you. We're connected and conscious. We're working together. We're creating a cooperative system or a partnership or whatever. And then actively engaged in a values-based life. Creating habits that are focused on what you want your behavior to reflect to the world and to yourself. That's it. So it turns out those three things each have two things that are part of it, but they're all really one thing. We call it psychological flexibility or inflexibility when it goes awry. And in the area of work, for example, if you want to avoid burnout, you want to be effective. If you scale these processes socially, you want to create work teams that have those kind of qualities. Creating a psychologically flexible workplace, so the environment supports it, and work team, so the team reflects it, of workers, so the individuals have those skills and they're actively developing them, you are going to be far more successful as a business person, as a leader, as a manager, and just as a human being. So one of the things that's really cool, because this small set goes everywhere, you can care about your family, you can care about your kids, you can care about your health, you can care about the world, and you can be massively successful at work with the same processes. You don't have to turn into somebody else and forget your wisdom training or religious background or how important your family is and how loving your kids makes a difference to you. And you don't have to, because the processes that empower human beings in one place empower them in another place. When you break out of this normative categorical way of thinking, this one-size-fits-all deal of where you are on a bell curve and what percentile are you and all this kind of thing of, oh, woe's me, I'm too low, or, oh, I'm great and grand, I'm so high. No. What are the things that you do that move your life up or move your life down? Watch it, learn it, observe it, use it, do it. You're on a journey to success everywhere you look.
Well, we're going to get into a couple very specific tactics, and it's fun. Sometimes I like my advice weird, and you got a couple of them, which has a wealth of science supporting it in terms of the efficacy of these tools and approaches. But maybe before we go granular and tactical, can you give us your 4-line ditty that summarizes your life's work?
Well, I have a 4-line ditty that summarizes everything that I've worked on in terms of the human mind and how it works, which is learn it in one, derive it in two, put it in networks that change what you do. We're the creatures who can relate anything to anything else in any possible way. That's what we're doing right now with language. We're able to put a world together in this vast cognitive network. And it took us a long time to do that. Almost for sure. It was happening even before Homo sapiens. But this is a tiger that we're riding, because as soon as you can think about anything in almost any possible way and create futures that have never been, you can take the same skills and say, yeah, I'm successful, but I could have been so much more successful. Oh, I've been a failure because, you can turn good into bad, bad into good, and you can walk yourself into a mental health struggle regardless of whether you're a billionaire or a pauper, regardless of whether or not you're loved by many or by virtually no one. That's a weird skill, and we better learn how to manage it. If we can't put our mind on a leash, it's going to put us on a leash.
Okay. And can you give us an example of something in our lives that we can learn in one, derive in two, and how that can take us down two very different paths?
Well, okay, let's say you've had a success experience and you said, I'm great. Okay, that's great.
So that's me deriving it there. I'm great.
You derived it. Yes. Or somebody said it.
All right.
Oh, you're so smart. You remember the first time? And a lot of the people who were successful were listening. They had that. They had the teacher. Somebody said, you're so smart. That's fine. But then it can flip it back the other way to anything I do is smart. And I've never met anybody who everything they do is smart. They may be, quote, smart in the sense they're able to learn quickly or so forth. But once you have kind of bought that, when it's sort of like swallowing a fish hook and it's hooked into you, you can be that manager who, no matter what other people say, you don't need to consider their opinions. You're the smart one in the room. You knew that before you walked in the room. And you kind of internalize that as who you are, rather than just a description of what you did, that later on could be a different description. And we're trying to learn how to do smart things. Of course we would. But when you buy into it, it's me. It's like a skin I wear. There's a reason why the word personality means the mask that you put on in Greek. It's the face that you present. And once you're there and you've forgotten it, boy, you're dangerous. You're going to have a lot harder time listening to other people's ideas, being genuinely curious about them, exploring them, having a conversation where the whole team can work together, where you can be shown to be smarter as being part of a group, because other people have ideas sometimes that are better than yours. That's just one example. Derive it in two. I'm smart. Okay, because I did this, I'm smart. Okay, now, because I'm smart, everything I do is like that. Now, that's not true. And you better hold that lightly. Learn. That first step of learning to be open is to be open to thoughts that are helpful and thoughts that aren't. Ideas that work, ideas that don't. Emotions that are useful here, emotions that don't deserve a whole lot of attention right now. So that flexibility of taking what's useful and leaving the rest requires a certain kind of humility and learning by experience. You kind of metaphorically have to fall down on your cognitive diapered butt multiple times before you can get through your thick skull that some thoughts are useful and some thoughts aren't. Some of your ideas are good, some aren't. And to, learn how to really be an effective manager, be a creative leader who can bring it every day, but also empower the team to do the same.
And so the putting it in networks is I'm relating this notion, I'm smart, to all kinds of other things in the world. Is that also maybe sort of a neuroscience network neuron concept as well?
It is, although we know so little about how the brain really works. It's a huge network. But so the networks of cognitions, let's say, and emotions and memories and so forth don't go one-to-one into the underlying networks that build the human brain. But we do know that the underlying neurobiology of what I'm saying is positive. If you take something like psychological flexibility skills, When you can apply those in your world, you're much less likely to be dumping in stress-related hormones. It's much easier to build new brain circuits. You're not pushing the start button on these survival circuits that lead to, almost ingrained kind of automatic reactions of finding safety or of attack towards others. So even down to the point of being able to have slower age-related decline in your cells. I mean, you can keep your body tuned by helping your mind be attuned to creating a safe place for you to have a history that includes difficult things. We've all had potentially traumatized-inducing events, if not actual trauma. Just turn on your television, look at your smartphone, and you have potentially trauma-inducing events all around you in the modern world. How are you going to be able to sort of not go into that almost alligator brainstem freeze or flee or fight kind of system? You're going to have to learn how to have modern minds for the modern world. The meditators and the Christian mystics and the Buddhists and all of them, all the wisdom traditions, all have ways of reining in this kind of alarm-based, safety-based mind. And so, I think the networks involve networks of habits, thoughts, emotions, etc., that all come together as one empowered person who's able to get better and better. But that doesn't mean you're great and grand, as you kindly mentioned. I'm no shining star of psychological flexibility, and if you want proof of that, talk to my wife. But I'm working on it.
Well, and again, we're going to get into some of those tools. I think maybe the favorite thing I've read from you is you hurt where you care and you care where you hurt. Can you expand on this for us?
Yeah, if you want to find out really what motivates you, there's 4 ways that I know of: sweet, sad stories and heroes. And the one you mentioned is the sad one. If you take the things that are hard for you and flip it over, it tells you what you care about. Otherwise, why are you upset about it? So if you've been betrayed, let's say, and that stabbed you through the heart, that a person you thought was loyal and trustworthy betrayed your love, let's say, your mind tells you stop being vulnerable. Avoid intimate relationships. They're not safe. But yet, that's what your heart yearned for. So we hurt where we care. Exactly why it stabbed you through the heart is that you wanted something. So instead of doing what the mind says is, I'll solve that problem, just don't want that anymore. And so you start having superficial relationships or detuning relationships that could, open your heart again. You put up defenses and so forth. Instead, could we learn a way to carry that hurt and let it actually motivate us? Precisely because it hurt to be betrayed, I know how important it is to me to build an intimate, committed relationship. Okay, can I work on how to do that? How to open my heart again? But the other methods as well, digging into the sweetness of life and noticing what that suggests, or looking at your heroes and asking yourself, why do I look up to them? And you'll find values there, and you can ask the question, how do you put that into your life? So I think a guide to success is inside our deepest failures. It tells us at least what we care about and what we want.
Beautiful. Let's now maybe have an overview of their sort of 6 key, do we call them tools, skills, processes? Can you give us this overview?
Well, I gave you the 3, and if each of them have 2, so that gives you 6. But this experiential openness, that means accepting your emotions without clinging, open to the difficult ones. Don't be hanging on desperately to positive ones. Allow emotions to come and go, and other experiences too, like memories, sensations. Backing up from and noticing your mind with a little sense of distance so that you can see it as a thought without just looking at the world structured by the thought, but without disappearing into the thought. Like if you have a thought like, this is awful, have a thought, this is awful. Don't disappear into the awful world. The world is the world. You said it's awful. That's 2 different things. That's not one. That's 2. And some of that may be just a habit that you don't need of awfulizing about things. Coming into the present moment, but consciously. In the present moment, inside now, that doesn't mean that you don't have ruminate thoughts about the past or worries about the future, but it means you don't get hooked by them and disappear from the moment, almost like how you do on the freeway sometimes, and you become a mindless driver and wake up, you've gone miles down the road. You don't want to do that with rumination and worry, because you will the opportunities are always in the present. That's where we live, that you'll miss it. But from this more conscious part of you that I think is really where we connect with others. You know, when you're a baby and mama looked at you, you dumped endorphins at birth. Natural opiates that basically say to you, this is what I want. When you saw those kind eyes, you knew you were connected. We yearn to be connected in consciousness with others. We're the social primates. And so consciousness itself comes out of that. And yet so easily we can use it for a tool of closing down or pretense, persona. Oh, I'm so awful, or I'm so great, instead of the of being connected to other people. So those are two more in the present consciously. And the final one is, what are the qualities of being and doing that you want to put in your life, that you want to have intrinsic? I'm talking not about goals. Goals are great, but values-based goals. You know, what it's really about. It isn't really about the money. It isn't really about the degree. It isn't really about any concrete thing. It's about the direction, owning that, and create habits built around it. So that even when you're not being mindful, which we're all mindless some of the time, we can kind of trust our instincts to be doing actual things with our feet, values-based behavior that is building opportunities, extending out our lives. So open, aware, and actively engaged has two aspects each: acceptance, and we call it diffusion, so with emotion and cognition, present moment focus consciously, and a values-based creation of habits and goals. Put all those together, boy. Now, there is one final thing you have to do, is extend it socially. So that if you really want to be, for example, emotionally open, that means having compassion towards others and being interested in what they feel. And like in the work setting, one of the things when I'm called in to kind of consult with managers and things like that, I ask questions like, who works with you? Where do they live? Who are they married to? What is their names? And how many kids do they have? And what are their names? And you can just take things like that to the bank as to whether or not you've got a manager who's in a two-way street of communication with the people who are important to them at work. You wouldn't have friends where you didn't know where they lived, whether or not they had kids, or what the name of their spouse was. You wouldn't do that to a secretary you've had for 10 years. Why? It's not because they have to be their friend. It's because you socially extend these issues of values. Do you want to be that kind of person who really knows others, of consciousness? Do you really want to be connected as a person with the people you work with? Of emotional openness. Do you want to know what their insides are like? So I think that those 6, socially extended, and then take care of your body. That's it. When we've done research, those things I just named account for about 80 to 90% of everything we know about how change happens.
All right. Well, let's dig into, you mentioned putting your mind on a leash. You have a turn of a phrase for the dictator within. What's that about?
Well, that voice within that assumes when we become conscious, we sort of take that perspective-taking skill of being able to go into behind the eyes of others, and we kind of step outside and look at ourselves. And that's fine. We even start talking to ourselves. That's great. But that voice, if you just let it boss you around, will become a dictator. It's, very much, if you just give them the rope to do it, they'll do it. They'll get you all entangled of what about this? What about this? And you do this and you do that. Sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's not. Why? Because you have a lot of wisdom that you can only touch intuitively. Your verbal part is not everything. That thin cortical overlay is only quite recent. I mean, you have a felt sense of what works based on what? On your experience. I'll give an example. If I asked you to put your body in the shape of you at your worst with dealing with a psychological issue, and just do it like you did with a kid when you're playing statues or something, but you're like a sculptor and we're going to take a picture. And then I say, okay, same issue, don't change the content at all. Now show me with your body you at your worst. Because it's not always one way or the other. Sometimes it's best, sometimes it's worst. We've done this with hundreds of people around the world. No matter where in the world we do it, something like 95% of the people show you, without any training, without any conversation, just what I told you, a body that is more closed at your worst versus open, less aware at its worst versus aware, and less actively engaged. In other words, by experience, you know everything I've just said in this interview. You could show it with your body. But here's the problem. The organ between your ears, that little dictator within that's constantly just treating your life as a problem to be solved, because that's what that voice is about. How do I solve problems? How do I break it down and figure out what's a better way forward? That's fine, but it's not all of it. Sometimes you have an intuitive sense that this job's not for you, that working with that manager is not really what you want to do. I don't care what the money is. You know, you feel it, you sense it. If you close yourself off to that, good luck, because you now are left with nothing more than lists of pros and cons and all the other things that could be helpful. But you got to be careful, because that dictator within can sometimes give you pretty unwise advice.
Absolutely. And you share a number of very specific tools, which are fascinating. So in the world of diffusion, you call it, for instance, if you just say out loud, so if I got this right, I could not walk around this room. I could not walk around this room, while you are in fact walking around the room, directly contradicting the dictator within. Folks in studies were able to keep their hands in really hot water for 40% longer, just because they demonstrated to themselves, no, those thoughts are not reality dictating what is possible. And that's all it takes, is like the tiniest little thing made a world of impact.
Yeah, you're going into a business meeting where you know you're in there with maybe people who are really, really famous, and you're not. You have a great power that you don't have. And you know, you're just based on your experience, you're going to have thoughts like, why am I even here? They don't want to listen to me. Maybe my ideas aren't good enough. Blah, 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 blah. You know, and you can fight it back. No, that's not true. You know, meanwhile, where's your attention? On the meeting? On what's being said? Or the argument inside your head? You don't be arguing inside your head in that meeting. What if you do this? What if you just practice things like have the thought, I can't lift the pen in front of me on the desk, and really get it clear. And when it's really clear, while it's still going on, pick up the pen. You can do that, right? This is your life. It's not your dictator's life. It's not those words' life. Those words are just in your life. They're not your enemy, but they're not your friend, and they're not who you are. You're a whole human being. So what if we then go into that meeting, and when you notice the chatter, thank your mind very much for that. Thanks for trying to help me with that, reminding me that I don't belong here. And but I've got this covered. And go in there and allow those thoughts to come by, just like the thought that you can't pick up the pen. And then when the moment hits, you make that contribution, you make that comment, you make that statement, you present those pitch deck or whatever it is that you have to do, and get out of your own freaking way. Your mind could be helpful in that, having that sense of worry to get you to prepare, etc. That's great. Oh, what if I'm not prepared? Okay, let's go prepare. But when you're in there, you may need other skills. And diffusion is our made-up word for tools. There's hundreds of them. You can make up your own that diminish the automatic hammer blow domination of literal thoughts in your head over what you do, what you feel, what you focus on, what you think about, so that you have greater freedom. You have a little space opened up where you can do things more in the way that you want to do them, or in the ways that your gut sense guides you. This is the moment to make that comment. This is the moment to be quiet, and allow yourself to go into a flow, the kind of places people go and they're very successful. I mean, look at athletes and others. How do they really get to be high performers? They don't do it by constant chatter in the moment. And so you need to put that mind of yours on a leash. And the diffusion methods, there's, as I say, there's hundreds of them. But that one of just the poke in the eye towards the dictator, or the tug on the cape of Superman of, you think you can tell me what to do? Okay, tell me what to do, and I'm going to do the exact opposite. You stop me. Ha, 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 ha.
That's good. Well, when you said there's hundreds of tools, one of my favorites is word repetition. How's this work?
Take a thought that really pushes you around, distill it down to the smallest set of words you can get to. If you can get it to one, it's the very, very best. Then say it out loud, at least once per second or a little faster, about the point at which you start to lose the ability to say it clearly. Make sure you can say it clearly out loud. And do it for at least 30 seconds. Even better would be 60. It'll be the longest 60 seconds of your day, but just say it over and over and over again. Like, can I give you an example? A little story. It's in the book, probably you read it, but I was at Stanford. I gave a talk and I was talking about how much money has been spent on sleeping medications, how much we've made even normal things that every creature on the planet know how to do into something that's a big fight every night. And, it's up into billions of dollars for sleeping meds. And I showed a graph, but it didn't have a clearly labeled a graph. And I said, and it's now $3 trillion. $3 trillion is ridiculous. But I somehow missed it, said it, went to sleep. My mind was listening because I pulled upright and said, $3 trillion. Are you out of your mind? They were recording it. I was giving the talk at Stanford. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. And the little clue that I said it twice reminded me of what to do. So I sat on the edge of the bed and I said the word stupid, actually, is for 60 seconds or so, and then I went back to sleep. What are you going to do when your mind's hitting you with these kind of judgments? One of the things you can do is just allow the word to be a word. And lesson learned. Label your graphs next time, Steve. You'll be less likely to make a mistake in a PowerPoint presentation. That past moment, I've learned a lesson. I don't need any more of reminding myself how stupid some people thought if they were the quick thinkers. I was in the moment. It was stupid.
Okay, and so you're saying the word again and again and stupid.
Little faster.
Oh, okay.
Little faster.
Stupid. And in so doing.
Yeah, and you only did about 4 seconds.
So 30 to 60 seconds.
Yeah, you got to do 60 seconds. And we actually have done a bunch of research on this. It was invented by Titchener, one of the fathers of American psychology, 100 years ago. We were the first. It's called semantic cessation, is what they called it. We were, I believe, the first to ever use it clinically. And what happens is immediately the distress starts coming down. After you start doing it for 30 seconds, the meaning goes away. Have you ever had a thing where you have a word and you almost, Ted Lasso does this all the time, and he knows this method. I wonder if he came across it because of ACT, the writer for Ted Lasso, because he does this kind of, and he actually mentioned semantic cessation on one of his shows. But when you take words that are so dominant that it push you around your whole life, and within 60 seconds, you can drain out the distress. And even the point that becomes almost meaningless is just a sound. You're going to let your life be run by that? Really? You'll go back. You'll know what stupid means after 60 seconds or whatever it is. But you also have that memory of, oh, yeah, it's a word. I'm saying a word to myself right now. Okay. Like that's something I have to not do? That's something that has to dominate my next hours and hours or days and days or weeks and weeks. But yeah, people will let words like that dominate months and years of their life mindlessly. I'm a loser can make you function as a worker who's trying to prove they're not a loser, and so doing so greatly restrict your ability to be a good worker, to be part of a team, whatever, that you're not able to show what you have. So, yeah.
And I'd also like to think about that in the context of procrastination. Like if the thought is, oh, I don't wanna, or, oh, just so tired, or that's going to be boring. So likewise, we could just pick whatever's most, activating or linked up to emotion, whether it's maybe, I don't wanna, I don't know, it might be too many words.
Boring might work. You could say it.
I don't wanna.
Absolutely. It'll work there. But some other ones, you could take that and sing it to your favorite rap song.
Mm-hmm.
Have your little, I don't want to rap.
Mm-hmm.
And it will lighten the whole load here. You'll have more openness and choice. You can't make me opera or whatever the thing is. And next thing you know, you're out there just doing it.
That's cool.
You could have it said to you, like, I don't want to, you can say it out loud in the voice of your least favorite politician.
Mm-hmm.
Or say it in the voice of Donald Duck.
All right.
The point isn't to ridicule yourself. You're not ridiculous. You're just human. The point is to liberate yourself.
All right.
You're not just words in your head. Look, I can put words in your head so freaking easily. Your parents did it. The commercials do it. If words in the head are what you're going to do, how are you going to have a life that's directed? I can give you 3 numbers. If you remember them, I'll give you $1 million an hour from now. Here are the numbers, 1, 2, 3. Can you repeat them back?
1, 2, 3.
Awesome. That's great. It's $1 million. Yeah, I've got a little donor who's given it to me, and they knew this is such an important podcast. I had to do it. So I'll say, what are the numbers? And you'll say,
1, 2, 3.
Awesome. I lied. There's no $1 million. A day from now, do you think you could say it?
Yeah.
How about a year from now? It might.
No, I'll probably remember Donald Duck, but more so than the 1, 2, 3.
But it's even possible. I only did it twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you, when I come up to you and say, hey, what are the numbers? You might say 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what if it was your mama saying you'll never amount to anything? Except she did say it twice. She said it 20 times or 200. You know, we've got people listening to me right now who had that history. You may have had that history. But what are you going to do with that? It's in your head. There's no delete button in the nervous system that's healthy. Short of brain injury or aging or age-related cognitive decline, it's not going away. Once it's deeply in, and even 2 might be enough. I guarantee it, we do it a little more. I can get 1, 2, 3 stuck in there for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
How about this? I'll think of something different. Okay, think of another set of numbers. What are the numbers?
Oh, I'm giving you numbers?
Yeah, but they can't be that because we're going to do something new. We have a new grade of thought. What are the numbers?
All right. 2, 4, 6.
Okay. Did you do what I asked? I told you to come up with something other than those horrible numbers we were talking about earlier. You know, it turns out.
Oh, I did. I gave you different numbers.
Gave me different numbers. How did you know you gave me different numbers?
Because I could recall the previous numbers and know that they're...
Exactly. So now you've had 3 trials. You see the problem?
Mm-hmm.
You had 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then was it 2, 4, 6?
Yeah, that's right.
Which is correct because it's not
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there you go. Now we got 4 times. Do you see the problem?
And trying to do another thing, you've reinforced the prior thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not logical, but it's psychological. And if you go into the work environment, for example, you're trying to convince yourself that you have confidence, and you end up training yourself not to have confidence because you don't do what the word says with faith. Confidence. Fides in Latin means faith. You want to have faith in yourself? Okay, you've got 1, 2, 3 in your head. Mom said you're never going to amount to anything, or that coach or that manager. I had a department chair when I was an untenured assistant professor who said I was a dilettante who would never amount to anything. He's dead now. I won't say his name. But he looked at my research career and says, you'll never go be anything. I have the evaluation. It's right on my shoulder. I read it periodically. And okay, so I can connect with that 1, 2, 3. But I don't need a 2, 4, 6 to fight it. If I instead would like, okay, I'm going to take my 1, 2, 3 and I'm writing this next paper or I'm doing this podcast.
Beautiful. You've got so many tools and suggestions. I'd love it if you could maybe share one more that in your experience, you found that it is super transformational for folks in terms of liberating, goodness, energy, aliveness. And yet it's pretty darn easy to do.
Well, here's one that fits a work environment, especially if you're in kind of a managerial or kind of context, or you're looked to for leadership and so forth. Take just a moment before that next interaction to take the perspective of the other person and remind yourself of the values that you want to put into your interaction. So let's say you're waiting, it's 30 seconds before the knock on the door is coming, the person's going to come in and talk to you. Just picture them as a way of preparing, of them walking towards that door, and go outside your body just like you did with those movies, like Harry Potter had the little light go out of his head, and go behind the eyes of that person walking towards you. What are they feeling? What are they thinking? What do they want from this meeting? What's hard for them? What are they afraid of? Then come back. And before that door knock comes, what are the qualities that you want to put into that interaction? What do you want to reflect in your behavior? I don't mean just the goals you're trying to get to. I mean the deeper purpose that you want to reflect of who and how you want to be in this interaction and the deeper purpose of this interaction. But knowing just for a second what's going on in the other person, what they're bringing into the room. I do that regularly when students are coming to meet me. I'm retiring now, so I'll stop doing it, but I do that before podcasts. I try to be in the position of the persons I'm interacting with, and it grounds the interaction to something that's bigger than just a performance or just saying stuff, getting through.
All right. Well, Steve, tell me anything else you want to make sure to mention before we shift gears and hear about some of your favorite things.
I guess one thing I would just mention is that if you view your life as in part a task of learning how to be more fully you, this open, aware, and actively engaged mantra can give you a guide. And so I would just like to leave the idea that science is doing a better job of digging down into what's the essence of the wisdom traditions, the religious traditions, the best of our cultural traditions, the best of our leadership training, and so forth. Focus on the really important ones and see how far it takes you. Essentially viewing part of your job as a continuous, never-ending process of learning and sort of peeling back the onion so you can gradually be more fully you and bring it every day.
Okay, thank you. Well, now could you share a favorite quote, something you find inspiring?
One I really like, actually, Margaret Mead. It's this a political consultant I worked with long ago before I even became a graduate student, a labor organizer taught me, which is something like, I'm paraphrasing it, but something like, don't underestimate the power of a committed group to change the world. And in fact, they're the only thing that ever has. So I like it.
All right. And a favorite study or experiment or bit of research?
Oh, God, I'm going to quote one of my own, but because my favorite over the last 3 years is one where we looked at every single study ever done in the history of the world that had a randomized trial focused on a mental health outcome that properly assessed how did change happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the mediators of change. It's geek statistics. We don't need to walk through that. It took me 3 years to do it, 50 people working with me, my colleagues, Stefan Hoffman, Joe Sorochi, Germany and Australia, international team. And why was it important? Because what I've just talked about when I said, and that's 80 or 90% of everything, learning how to be more open, aware, and actively engaged, but then socially scaling it and taking care of your body. Look, that's 80 to 90% of everything we know about how change happens. So that's such a small set. I could say it in a long sentence. Time's up. Back to that last comment, view your life as a learning thing. I think this is all the studies ever done, no matter what the name, no matter what the goal. Let's learn them. We've got a small enough set. We can all work on learning those things.
All right. And a favorite book?
A book that changed my life, actually, was Walden 2, B.F. Skinner's book. And I took it not to be a utopian novel. It's written many years ago. But I took it to be this idea that you could take principles and processes and scale it up even to how we should arrange our world. And wouldn't that be cool? And I do think we have a chance over the next 100, 200 years or whatever of knowing enough about really what lifts us up that we can begin to design our world on purpose and evolve on purpose. And if you look at our challenges of climate change and immigration, political division, and all the rest, we better get busy with it because we've sure got a lot of challenges. But we also have awesome tools and kids who are ready to do something really new.
And is there a key nugget you share that really seems to connect and resonate with folks? They quote it back to you often?
Love isn't everything. It's the only thing.
Okay.
It's a ripoff of Lombardi. Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. And kind of meant to be a poke at that win at all costs. If I'm going to do something at all costs, I'd say love at all costs.
Okay. And if folks want to learn more or get in touch, where would you point them?
If you're interested in my work, just go to my website. It's just www and my name, Stephen with a V, middle initial C for Charlie, my dad's name, Hayes. So StephenCHayes.com. But if, you're really interested in psychological flexibility or the kind of things we've been talking about, you can Google it and find like a whole bunch of stuff for free out there. Even the World Health Organization gives it away for free. So you don't spend anything to learn more about these processes that I've been talking about.
All right. And do you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
Yeah. The challenge is to live your deepest values. That's the challenge for every single one of us, I think, is how do we become the kind of person where others look to us and see in that values that they would like to have manifest in their life? How do we live our deepest values? In the area of work, I'd say this, if you really want to love your work, do your work lovingly. Because when I dig down to your deepest values, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but whether it's appreciation of beauty or contributing something to others or alleviating suffering or really making an awesome product that other people can use, to me, those are all faces of love. They're about how we support each other in this journey called life. And when you have your work be about that, yeah, it's not always going to be Candyland. I don't mean love your work like smiley face, Rim and Stimpy, happy, happy, joy, joy, morning to night. No, you have challenges. It's not always going to be smiling and Candyland, but love in that sense of meaningful, important, worthy, honorable. You want to love your work, do your work lovingly.
All right. Steve, this has been such a treat. I wish you much love and joy in retirement.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity.
So much good stuff from Steve. I remember his words, you care where you hurt and you hurt where you care frequently. When I hurt about something I care about. And it's kind of powerful for me because I think that's one of the top master takeaways from how to be awesome at your job, all these interviews, is caring makes all the difference. And so if you care about a thing, you've got the potential to be hurt by that thing. But the good news is in your caring is a key to awesomeness. And try out that word repetition trick. It's so easy and fun and effective. It's freaky. Just give it a shot. You feel a little bit silly, but afterwards you're like, oh, that's just a word in my head. It doesn't actually have these magical powers over me. Okay. And suddenly there's more freedom and possibility. And the dictator has been dethroned just a bit and so fast. Great stuff from Steve. Again, the show notes, the transcript, the links to items we've referenced are at awesomeatyourjob.com/EP872. Hope to catch you next time. And peace.
Thanks for listening. To get the most out of the show, we recommend 2 key things. First, check out the extra resources at awesomeatyourjob.com. You can find this episode's transcript and links, as well as the perfect episode for your situation. You can search the full text transcripts of hundreds of episodes or explore episodes tagged by topic and competency covered. Second, subscribe to the podcast and get future episodes automatically. You can subscribe by telling Siri and several other smartphones and speakers, subscribe to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, or by tapping subscribe in your podcast player of choice. If you'd like some extra help figuring out podcasts and how subscriptions work, visit awesomeatyourjob.com/subscribe for guidance. Hope to catch you on the next episode of How to Be Awesome at Your Job.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.